my leaders and my employees and my organization are my first end customers. Don't worry just about taking care of the customers. You take care of your people, that's going to happen for you.
What it would take to make that incremental. I mean, fixed expense is stair step, right? As we know, the CapEx is like this, but revenue unfortunately goes like this. And what this is called is cash pinch.
Anyone who's even considering the VA process, I firmly believe that is the mindset you have to go in with. They need to be treated, led, mentored, educated the exact same way.
Welcome, everybody. As always, you can expect a super high takeaway value in our latest episode of How Outsourcing and AI Works for Small to Medium Business. I'm your host, Brad Stevens, founder and CEO at Outsource Access. We grew to 500 people, 4.5 years, servicing 85 different industries, over 5 million hours of work, and get a chance to work with fantastic companies and individuals like Greenlight Cyber and Dave Roberts here, who's their president. And we'll be diving into his journey and exploring this path and see the impact that they're having, what they're offering, what they do at Greenlight Cyber for their clients. And, you know, as Dave and I were talking about at the beginning, you know, it's kind of addressing the perceptions people have. When you say virtual assistant, it happens to be the kind of the common language. But at the end of the day, it's way, you know, more than that. And so the whole purpose of this is to share case studies and examples. So, you know, we're beyond the top of the funnel. People know that offshore and outsourcing and virtual assistants and AI and all that exists. The question is like, how does this actually work? Like, what are they going to do in my business? How are they going to work with my existing staff? What can they do? And with Greenlight's example, and Dave will share, I mean, we're doing everything from direct executive admin support work, but doing direct sales and even doing a level one actual technical support, you know, for their staff and working side by side with their team as a part of their organization. So thanks for being with me, man. I appreciate it.
Oh, thank you so much for having me on the show, man.
Absolutely.
I'm a huge fan of Outsource Access, and as we'll get into, it's changed the way that we do business. So any chance that I get to talk about how great you guys are, I'm grateful for the opportunity, man.
Well, I appreciate it, man. And it's you know, and as I share in all our episodes, right? I mean, at the end of the day, anybody that knows me, I mean, I've been an advocate for this for 10 plus years, and had a chance to speak globally on it. And so, you know, obviously we do what we do here at Outsource Access, but just an advocate for the industry and encourage, you know, being a passionate entrepreneur my entire life. This changed my world in growing my last business when I learned about this whole space and how to work with these individuals and what they're capable of, and just want to bring it to other small to medium businesses. And there's a bunch of other great companies out there that do what we do. So just encourage you to explore this path, and hopefully this will give you some insight to kind of take that step, you know, in your journey. But as we always do, kick off the episode that, you know, if you don't listen to anything else we have to blather about here in the next 20 or 30 minutes, I'd love to kick off sharing a quick tool, resource that maybe you haven't heard of, that I asked my guest and myself to kind of share with you, to kind of give you a quick endorphin hit of something that you can take advantage of. And so I know Dave's got a couple, and actually a really cool tool they've actually released that could be engaged. So I want to share with everybody what's the latest in your world?
Yeah, latest what's in our space, because I know it's very timely because we're talking about outsourcing and AI on this episode. We've recently inked a partnership with a new company that's specializing in a secure AI workspace. The company is called Liinal, and essentially it provides a secure, governed way for enterprises or even small to medium businesses to use AI. So imagine that there was this secure space where if you're sending any sensitive data to and from, it is redacting that data before it goes to the AI. It is rehydrating that data, when it comes back to you. And you're able to interchange between the top 5 models, and you have unlimited access and unlimited tokens for them. And it is all in a per seat per month platform, where you also have a management console. You can see what AI is being used for which tasks by which people. So it really allows, it cuts shadow AI off at the source, because it allows you to move all of that into a place where it can be used, where it can be governed, where it can be used safely. And then you don't have employees that are uploading something to Claude because they need an edge, and arguably paying for it on their own, where there's no governance. Sensitive data is going into AI, which is just someone else's computer. Now it's all being used and encouraged. Instead of it being a dirty little secret, it's something the whole organization can lean into safely.
That's fantastic. I mean, I know that's being a part of EO Entrepreneurs Organization for 15 years and YPO for the last 3 years as well. And I'm in a bunch of community, chat groups, globally, and just hearing this topic among all business owners and all different walks of life, that this is the challenge, right?
Absolutely.
People want to be going down this path and using AI, but how do we do it in a way that is compliant? When you talk about HIPAA and data security and so forth, and so the governance side of this, being able to create an environment where it can be used and kind of be monitored and managed in that process. And the term you use, shadow AI, I hadn't heard that phrase, but I guess that's kind of the term that's being used.
Well, yeah, because I mean, you have shadow IT where people are using, end users will be using different applications that aren't sanctioned or governed by the IT stakeholders of the organization. Same thing's happening with AI. Where it's like, hey, I need to analyze this contract and look for any red lines that are necessary, any sort of gotchas. Let me just throw this in ChatGPT real quick. And yes, it will spit out a result. But once you've done that, like there's even like evolving case law coming out where does that remove attorney-client privilege if you uploaded something to AI?
Yeah.
Because you have voluntarily disseminated the information. Or
Yes.
in this age of rampant business email compromise, spear phishing, all the different ways that bad guys are impersonating through social engineering as well. Uh, if you're uploading to AI and it's not governed, like you are arming your attackers. You are giving them the raw data that they could use to create a playbook on you that you might be fighting against a month or two from now.
Wow. Let's.
Liminal solves for that, or any sort of secure AI workspace. That is the future because people are already using AI. Businesses are afraid to do it, but their employees are already using it. So why not lean into it and cover everyone's collective downside?
Now it's not, it's here to stay for the long term. So, might as well get real about it, right? Just when email came around and websites came around and so forth, and just social media, right? Every time it comes out, you got to kind of then have a governance layer to kind of navigate it, while it's in its Wild West type of stage. So,
Absolutely.
that's very cool. We'll put that in the show notes for everybody to check out Liminal, and you guys are partnering with them to kind of be able to offer that as a program for companies to explore, correct?
Yeah, that's something you can reach out on our contact form. You can get that from us as a small to medium business, and we can also direct you to where you can get that if you are a small to medium MSP as well, because there's a different channel for that. So we can put a couple links in the show notes so you guys know where to go.
Awesome. Well, we'll do that, and we'll certainly share your guys' main website here, Greenlight Cyber, and a bunch of resources, just massive amounts of information and guidance here that we'll kind of be sharing. Um, Very good, man. And I think you had a quick book you want to share as well as a quick resource.
Yeah, I mean, I've had a couple. One of them that has really stuck out to me. Read it not only for work but also for my staff at church because I'm on staff there bivocationally. Uh, was Unreasonable Hospitality,
Mm,
and just really empowering your team, focusing on a truly human connection, um, and focusing on the surprise and delight. And this has pivoted into our like not only our sales process but our account management process, where you can't just be happy because the technical problem was solved. Um, because anytime there is any sort of conflict or issue, there's the issue at hand, and then there's the perception. Or in our line of business, we talk about the technical problem and the people problem. You can
yeah,
solve the technical problem 100% of the time, but if you didn't address the people problem, you'll still get fired. If you do
totally.
the inverse, working on the people problem and recognizing that as the most important problem to solve is forgiveness for a multitude of sins for minor tactical issues. So we've pivoted that in EOS, and like one of our big rocks is creating raving fans, not just you got a gold star on your CSAT, like really defining what does a raving fan look like,
Exactly.
and that's how Will succeeded with his restaurant. He wasn't looking for people who just liked the food and gave a great tip. He was looking for raving fans. That's what funneled all of the business. That's what gave him such the logarithmic growth that he had. And
Absolutely.
it
It's
should be studied. It should be emulated.
Yeah, I got a chance to see the advisors with his team that spoke for this entrepreneurial master's program I did with EO up at MIT, at the Endicott House up there, the MIT Endicott House in Boston. And did a full 3-hour workshop on this, and yeah, it was an incredible insight. And at the end of the day, I mean, we humans do business with humans, and like just how do you
Exactly.
go? And oftentimes it's not wildly expensive things. Sometimes, right? It's just putting thought into that interaction, that engagement, right? To make them feel right. That old Maya Angelou quote, right? People will never forget what you said, what you did, but they will never forget how you made them
How you made them feel.
feel.
Yes.
Right. And I remember one of the examples they shared, in their restaurant, like, two women were talking about, they had toured New York, and there was, restaurants in New York. And, the one thing they hadn't gotten was like a traditional New York hot dog. Right. And so, like, the guests, the staff are trained to be listening all the time, listening to these things. And I mean, ran down the street, went and got a New York hot dog, and they did it, 5-star, Michelin style, but then delivered it, put it on a plate to them. And then little things like, having like, go packages when you're heading to the airport, right from the restaurant, right. And be able to have things that you can do. So it's
Hmm.
a lot of times the little things that you can do. And I know, you guys are big on culture, and that's a big part of what's helped us at Outsource Access is, I mean, been fanatical about culture. And, we have our own, we were sharing, when I was on my last trip over there, I got a chance to interview, our staff. And this is actually the interviews I've done with my employees in our podcast studio over there,
Hmm.
get a chance to celebrate them and their journey. And we actually have our own magazine in the Philippines to kind of showcase our staff. And it's the things that can make them feel, because at the end of the day, like human beings, they just want to be recognized, and they want to feel like they're a part of something bigger than themselves. Right. And if you can win, in those categories, it's going to make it successful. And here's Liminal, by the way, which I'll pull up and we'll put in the show notes, the platform that you can learn about with, directly through your Greenlight site. Well, thanks for sharing that, man. That's a great book and a great reminder for everybody. And then go to Unreasonable. We'll put the link in there for that book, and, ways that you can really truly make raving fans. Because at the end of the day, right, I mean, you can build an entire business perpetuated off your existing business. I mean, we grew to 500 employees without spending a single dime on marketing and advertising. It was purely from, celebrating our existing employees and helping them, our existing staff, our and clients, and making them feel celebrated to kind of be able to share others. So on
Hmm.
that, the tool I'll show real quick, and we'll jump into the content here, is we were talking at the beginning about Donald Miller, and I had a chance to go listen to him speak at a conference. And if you don't know Donald Miller and you haven't read StoryBrand, I cannot say enough about it. It is one of the last stops you would have to make from a messaging standpoint. And back to the point of the first book you shared, right? Donald Miller, the entire concept is around, right, making your client, right, our customers, they're the hero of the journey, not Greenlight Cyber, not Outsource Access, right? Our customers are the hero, and we're just there to be their guide. And
Yep.
from his journey, just sharing the whole journey of being able to map how you message and think about what you do, removing cognitive difficulty for people to go from very clear their problem to how you're going to solve that solution. And at this conference they have a StoryBrand.ai. So you can actually go and create a platform or create an account and go in and put your company, describe what you do, and it'll create the entire StoryBrand framework, the hero, the journey, the hook, the all of the messaging and everything around everything that you can engage. So you go to StoryBrand.ai and check that out. It's a really cool tool and resource, because messaging is one of the biggest things. With the amount of confusion that everybody's dealing with right now and the amount of stuff that's coming at them, if you don't have clarity, piercing clarity in your message about what you do and why you're different than everybody else, right, then it doesn't really matter. You're just gonna get caught in the noise.
Yeah.
Um,
What you do, why it's important, how is this going to help my actual day to day? Like, how is it going to help my bottom line? Or even the question behind the question, like, how is this going to help what I actually care about? Not the tech jargon, the actual business. Like, how is this going to help with me hiring people next year? How is this going to help with being able to do profit sharing for my executives or to pay for my kids' college tuition? Really
yeah,
being able to tap into that part of the story. Like, that's the key.
got to get to the why. It's oh, and actually, yeah. So this is actually the output for us. So we have a whole initiative we're launched called Maximize My Virtual Assistant. So I put it in there, described it. And this is on the free trial. I got this, right? It tells you who the character is, what their problem is, exactly how to phrase everything in your messaging strategy using the story brand, approach. So pretty cool tool everybody can kind of check out if you're looking. So my goal is that between those two, right, you're getting a lot of value of things to kind of check out, some books, some resources that could be helpful for you. So now we'll turn back to Dave and Greenlight Cyber, and us having an opportunity for them to be their hero in our story and us to kind of be their guide and in their path to scaling, and they wanted to kind of explore the whole outsourcing virtual assistant world. And we came together, God, over 2 years ago, I think, close to now,
Yeah.
and got 3 staff supporting them in sales and executive support, and even in the technical side of things. So excited to kind of share specific examples, what their journey was, and the impact it's had. But before that, Dave, give everybody a quick boiler on yourself and quick background. I know you've got 2 decades of experience in this whole space and serving as president at Greenlight, but a little bit of background for you and the company, and then we'll dive into your journey.
Yeah, background for me, I've always been in the tech space. Most people learn how to work on cars from their dads. I learned how to work on these. Uh, so like he had a small like 2 to 3 person MSP back in the mid 90s when they were still just called like consulting. Uh, didn't have a name for MSP yet, so started in on that journey. Kind of went down the road, worked tech at my college, um, and then really got into systems administration. Um, worked through that. Um, a few internal roles, pivoted to the MSP space in 2016, and kind of been in and out of it. So I've been at multinational corporations for global IT infrastructure, but I've also like run markets, run service delivery for markets of 150 clients and like 200-mile coverage area, where
Wow.
where I was an engineer and I was a manager. So going from that, getting my undergrad after 15 years in the field, getting my master's after 20 in the field. Um, like I've gone from being an engineer to leading people to now being able to lead organizations and teach others how to lead. And that's been my favorite thing that I do here at Greenlight is uh, managing the finances, managing the people, equipping, empowering, and getting the hell out of the way, essentially.
No, that's the essential, for presidents and COOs, and being able to master that and do it effectively. So you've been able to, bring experience from the front lines, and that's, people that make the best in your role are folks that have been on the front lines, lived and breathed it, from start to finish, right? I'm a huge fan of value stream mapping, right? Understanding the entire,
Yep.
ecosystem, because from that point, you really know what it's like from cradle to grave. So you can kind of position, hire properly, manage people, and then focus on the bigger side of leadership, and what you're doing with Unreasonable Hospitality and that kind of mindset. So,
Yeah, and
and what's
recognizing
like,
that the leaders that we mentor, like
yeah,
they're the ones that like we want surprise and delight from our end customers. But my leaders and my employees in my organization are my first end customers. I think it was Sir Richard Branson said it. If you take care of, don't worry just about taking care of the customers. You take care of your people, that's going to happen for you.
yeah, that's the leading indicator, right? I mean, you take care of your people, then that's going to translate into their attitude and their performance, and how they support the employees. And that's, we look at a lot of that's been an interesting byproduct in my business with Outsource Access and 80 industries and things that we've been doing, and getting great inside and working side by side with our clients. Is when you can let people focus and be in their genius zone, right? I mean, at the end of the day, everybody wants to wake up and their feet hit the ground doing that thing that they love doing and that they add the most value to the world, to the company, right? And what makes them happiest. And a lot of times when we go in and we do this 2-question exercise, you guys may have seen at the beginning is and we keep it simple, 2 questions. Just simply we'll ask, clients when they're engaging, they're like, well, we want to go down this outsourcing path, but like we're not sure where and how exactly to use them. They may have some initial ideas, but then they're kind of curious, where else could we use? Take these 2 questions, ask all your people, what are you doing that isn't the best use of your time? How many hours per month are you spending on it? What is not in your genius zone that you're doing every day? But put a pencil. How many hours per month are you spending on it? And you got to give them psychological safety to tell you those things too, right? And then secondly, from where you are in the organization, what do you think we should be doing that we aren't due to time, money, or knowledge constraints?
Mm-hmm.
And doing this with thousands of companies now. I mean, from a startup to we got a $300 million pharmacy chain with 80 locations, and the CEO is like, just those 2 questions? I'm like, yep. And his staff came back with 160 items. I'm like, Jane, you've been with me for 6 years, right? Why do you have things on here, 42 things that you don't think are the best use of your time? Well, you never really, asked me. And so
It's that psychological safety, being free to ask the question, being free
exactly,
to speak with radical candor.
absolutely. And it's, I think Google actually coined that phrase, psychological safety, in terms of how their approach was and being able to equip people with that mindset. And when you truly do, the other byproduct too is it lets you know people are on the edge of burnout, right? When Susie comes back with 42 items on that list that aren't the best use of your time, or even 10 items, right? Then that means she's waking up doing things that are against the grain, and ultimately what are going to add the most value, for the organization. So, well, as far as what you guys do and thinking about kind of what your path from your perspective, I had a chance to interview
Mhm.
Jason not too long ago. But from your lens, what's the journey been like? Sort of the initial thoughts and perspectives you had about using, VAs, and as we talked about, it's very different than just a virtual assistant. It's a lot of higher level type things they're doing side by side with you. But how's it kind of played out from your perspective?
I agree with that. That the original, the initial kind of stigma around the virtual assistant, because we started out with the first one um, after our in-house, like our local admin assistant uh, had another little one, and just it was a natural transition. So we elected, rather than going to market and going through the whole hiring cycle, we elected to go through OA. Um, and at the beginning, it's like there was a little bit of a ramp up, because I think there was trust that needed to be established on our side
Sure.
of, okay, what can we trust a VA with? We went into it with the ethos of, we're not treating this person any different. If we're hiring somebody to be part of our team, they are part of our team. And for yeah, anyone who's even considering the VA process, I firmly believe that is the mindset you have to go in with. They are they need to be treated, led, mentored, educated the exact same way as anyone else on your team. So we lean into that, and uh, I would say Edison is probably the MVP of our team still. And I know he was when you talked with Jason about it. That has not changed. If nothing else, that has increased. But that gave us the safety to try. Okay, well, what if we did this for what if we did this for one of our engineers?
Yeah.
So we did that, and we brought on. We've actually have a few engineers through OA, and then it was okay. Well, that has netted this positive result. What if we did this for sales? So now we have an SDR that is doing the same thing, and I'm happy to bring up like the tangible details of how that has improved our business from all three of those aspects. But
Yeah.
just at a high level, there was some trepidation around it at first. Um, will they be reliable? Will they be able to work in our time zone? Will we be able to communicate? Will they truly integrate as part of our team, or will there be too many layers of abstraction?
Yeah.
Like that, if you have a direct hire, you manage them directly. The name is the recipe. But if you're working through a BPO, well, they have their own leadership. Like, how is that going to work? Are their SOPs going to align with ours, or is that going to create unnecessary friction? Um, in OA's case, we haven't had that issue at all, but it's a very common one that people get nervous about.
Yeah, I mean, it's those are all, and rightly so. I mean, that was my journey when I started using in my last business, when I started learning about this whole world. We were manufacturing and distributing teeth whitening products globally in the dental and the beauty industry, and I was struggling with some of the growth challenges and scaling challenges, and I went down this path over 10 years ago and had the same exact questions. And it's natural. I mean, even for somebody you're hiring, kind of locally. Um, but the intentionality we try to put in OA is understanding and seeing the failure points a lot of other companies have had, and myself included, tried to kind of create an architecture so that we could make it be sustainable and reliable for small to medium business. By incorporating the Philippines, which is a no light task, incorporating in another country like that, but being able
Yeah,
to hire them as full time employees, and then paying, and offering the best health insurance in the country that supports them and their families, and so we can attract the right kind of talent, and then to give the right support architecture to address the typical doubt, fears, concerns about competency or ability or integration or turnover or what have you. Um, so it's good to hear that we earned that trust in the journey. And so, yeah, if you wouldn't mind, I'd love to share, like with Edison, how did he end up being like earning the MVP, right? So Edison was the first kind of staff you brought on with us, and what his role was and the things he was able to tackle and support you with, and the impact he's made. And would love to kind of just go person by person, and so the listeners can kind of hear, that are maybe going through this, even if you're, in the IT cyberspace or not. Like I said, we're in 80 industries. None of it matters in terms of, we all got constraint points and
hmm
challenges, and it applies differently in each industry, but, same impact can kind of be there. So I'd love to hear sort of what the journey's been.
yeah. So starting with Edison, When we brought him on, it was primarily to be a personal assistant for Jason, and then that branched off to being sort of a joint custody personal assistant between Jason and myself. Um, but over time, we developed not just a professional relationship, we developed a friendship
Yeah.
with Edison, where we really found out, like we implemented EOS, and admittedly, the first time we implemented EOS, we did not do it properly, but we'll get to that. But Edison
Now, we're
facilitated it
EOS as well, and so I know the journey there. It's amazing, but it does take different layers of integration.
very much, and it's very easy to line up a bullseye on the wrong target. Um, which I mean, we went through that process. Edison was a very faithful executor of what we wanted to do. Um, and over time, his role just continued to grow, where he started helping out with quoting, he started helping out with logistics, he started helping out with keeping track of our documentation and our contracts, helping manage our calendars. Um, and we just, after joining the Evolve peer groups, we came back with last month with a complete reset of, okay, we are going to formally, um, we're going to knock down our current version of EOS. We're going to knock it down to the beams, and we're going to start over. And Edison stepped in and was able to be, and has been able to be our facilitator, um, and is
Wow.
actually helping build out EOS through Monday.com. And it's a possibility we're going to migrate that into Streti. So that's something where being able to do that and work collaboratively with me, take that off of my plate, so that we can design how is the agenda going to go? How are the rocks going to go? How is that going to flow down into cohesive one-on-ones with my direct reports, uh, and down to their direct reports? So we truly have synergy on how we're doing all of this. I would say just in those efforts alone, the average cost of getting an EOS implementer through a full life cycle is about $60,000.
Yeah.
So that's something that we're not having to worry about, and we're not having to worry about using an outsourced firm that's essentially going to be a hired gun. They're going to come in, set it up, get the sign off that it was set up, and then ride off into the sunset with their $60,000. With this, we're developing a member of our team.
That is
So
awesome.
that all of that is organic, and it's staying within the organization. And now Edison's helping out my director of technology. He's helping out my account executive. He's helping keep track of things for sales. He really is the linchpin, like at the center, that's holding all of us together. Um, so his MVP spot, I think will be it'll be a hard one to knock him off of that pedestal. But we have others that are trying hard. So
What's
next
the total
one would
size of
be
the company? Just so everybody has a sense of, total number of staff you guys have?
total number of staff we have is right around 20, and I would say more than somewhere between a quarter and a third um, are offshore through OA.
That's fantastic. And I love this story because it's exactly, and that's why I started this company, is because the journey that I experienced. I mean, our tagline is redefine how you scale for a reason. And it's just, once people understand this world and what people are capable of and exactly what you just shared, right? A lot of people think, oh, VA, offshore, bad accent, just call center for the cable company when I call. No, right? It is, hire the human, not the location. Somebody mentioned on one of my guests on my podcast the other day. Um, it's tremendous. They become an integrated part of the team. And then once you embrace it, right, and the voraciousness and the capacity to learn and to grow, and part of we're constantly investing. We spend $30,000-$40,000 a year on additional training and education platforms to continue to educate because they love learning. I mean, we have a woman that was a second grade teacher and all of a sudden came in and learned all the software for the personal injury law firm space. And now she runs it for one of the biggest practices in the Southeast and never done it
Mm-hmm.
before in her life. Right. So I love the passion and willingness to learn and to grow. And we have a lot of clients that run EOS and other similar platforms scaling up. And so, we run it ourselves, and, being able to teach our staff and then be able to lean in and share best practices on ways we've done it. So they become a part of that equation. But that's awesome to hear. He's actually been a direct integration part. I'll have to do another interview with Edison just on that
Yeah,
journey
just
and
on how
experience.
that's working. And then the next one, just going chronologically. So we had
Yeah.
Edison. Then we went and wanted to expand out on the
I'm putting
engineering
up
side.
OS for anybody that's watching the video. You can kind of see the EOS system. Kind of curious what it is, but it's an operating framework of how to integrate in your business on strategy and mission and plan, and how to do your meeting architectures and so forth. So it's a great platform framework for anybody who's kind of wanting to kind of explore that path.
Absolutely. Um, and then so from there we went to we decided, okay, we'll take a chance on this. Like our previous experience had been good, and we brought on an engineer. So in this case, this was our first real challenging of the paradigm of what a VA is, because this was a technical VA. Like, okay, we'll give this a shot. Um, and so we've Emmanuel Balin has been with us for a couple of years as well, and not only was he not only has he been a fantastic level one engineer, I would say he's probably at a level two engineer at this point, because we went into it the same way. Like, this is another member of our team. We have some geographic disbursement as it is. So okay, he's on Teams. He can be on video. We can communicate.
Yeah,
That's really all that matters. We hired the human, not the location, and we trained him as such. So fast forward now, he is one of the primary touch points for more technical issues with our clients. He's
yeah,
also helping out with helped design our onboarding workflow, which, I mean, we're going to be retooling, but having somebody that could be dedicated to that has been incredibly helpful. It has certainly driven efficiency for us as an engineering team, and we've been able to do that at a significant cost savings, because to get a decent L2 that also has project coordinator knowledge,
yeah,
right? If you're doing that stateside, your burden cost is probably going to be around six figures once you incorporate labor burden.
yeah, no doubt.
So we've done that. We've also have another technical VA, Adeline.
To touch on that point real quick, while I want to capture that
Yeah,
thought for as another kind of key takeaway is that, and a lot of people when they talk about offshoring and outsourcing, they're like, oh, it's taking jobs and so forth. But what happens is for small to medium businesses that are scaling, right? And we know that like dollars and cash flow and what have you, what ends up happening is this they just don't hire because what it would take to make that incremental. I mean, fixed expense is stair step, right? As we know, the
yeah,
capex is like this, but revenue unfortunately goes like this. And what this is called is cash pinch, right? And the journey I found is this allows you to now bring on. It's not that you wouldn't have hired, and you just wouldn't have hired, right? Probably locally because it wasn't in the cards, at least financially, probably in the growth. So you just kind of have to make the current engineers or stretch thinner potentially. But this gave you a release valve, right, at an affordable rate to be able to bring on the talent. So it wasn't as big of a capex expense, and that cash flow pinch, right, isn't necessarily you guys are navigating cash flow pinches, but I'm talking about general theoretically, right, around that. So it allows you to incrementally add talent, at a way that you can now offer the service and that delight and that experience that you want without stretching people too thin in the journey.
yeah. It gives you that way to incrementally increase bandwidth, um, because particularly in our space, like a well-run MSP is always running on the edge of being understaffed,
Yeah.
because you can't hire additional bandwidth. Like, you can't have three or four people just warming the bench, because from a cash flow perspective, that doesn't make any sense either. So this allows that ability to scale, where, okay, we might hire two technical VAs, and once we get to the point where we've exhausted their bandwidth, we will have brought in enough revenue that would warrant another local hire, so we have boots on the ground, and that could become a repeatable motion. So we did
Exactly.
that
That's
with
a great way of
Emmanuel.
describing it.
Yeah, we did it with Adeline as well. Adeline acts as essentially as our dispatcher on a service desk. So being able to have somebody who can do that and get tickets routed to the right place, so that my director of technology isn't staring at a ticket board, because she's working on risk assessment. She's working on more advanced uh, cybersecurity liaison work with our clients, with our account management team, starting to come behind the curtain on finance and business operations with me. Having that technical VA there frees up the bandwidth so that the highest and best use of our key personnel's time, so that we can really be pushing toward that.
And this is the
Uh,
third hire you're talking about, right? The third staff that came.
This is the third hire. And actually, my math was a little off last night. So that's hire number 3, but we also have hire number 4 because
And real quick, and again, I just mean you're bringing such up great points, and I promise I didn't like this is at the essence, the thesis of this whole model, right? Is and back to that 2-question exercise I was talking about, right? This is exactly the essence of it, right? As you said, like your director of technology, it's being able to take individuals, right? And I'm sure, right, what her highest and best use. What's her first name again?
Landi.
So her highest and best use, right, in terms of or what brings her the most joy and value, right, and where she can have the most impact, right, and then also where she's enjoying her work the most, and by freeing her from right that second question, what do you want to be doing in your role that you aren't, right, due to constraints, and by specifically, and this is the indirect impact on revenue, right, and I had a similar story with an e-commerce company that had a VP of operations that was dealing with all kinds of like bad order problems, right, which wasn't the best use of their time. But by freeing her up and your team on the director of technology to not be dealing in the weeds with direct technical, issues, she's now elevated specifically, as you said, to work with you, work with the rest of the team to do higher value activities, to probably do strategic, larger accounts that you can go after, right, from a sales and a revenue impact standpoint. Some things we do are direct revenue, but sometimes it's indirect by just getting people freed up so they can focus on revenue generating activities.
Correct, because that indirect is offsetting the opportunity cost. Like, hey, I could be doing this, but how much more valuable could I be if I didn't have to do that? And now I can be over here. Like having Adeline there as the dispatcher means that Landi doesn't have to stare at tickets and route them as they come in, which means she can
Yeah.
be working on more advanced metrics like how are we tracking first call resolution? How are we aligning our ticket metrics to ITIL standards? Are we implementing a formal change management process? These are things that Landi, as the CISSP, can be concentrating on because she's not having to do the other work.
Absolutely. That is fantastic.
Our sales team is almost a mirror image of that as well. Because after it worked for executive assistant, after it worked for engineering, um, we tried that with an SDR. So we've had Sam Turo, who's been with us for well over a year. I think we might be at 2 at this point. We're having so much fun; it kind of blurs together for me. But he has been very instrumental initially as a sales admin to help our director of sales and partnerships just deal with the minutia because he's a relationship guy, but we needed somebody that could keep him honest with the day-to-day tactical tasks.
Yeah.
So Sam started doing that, and then as our inbound lead flow started to grow to the point where we were having capacity issues, it's like, hey Sam, couldn't could we teach you how to do this so that now that we have 2 people that can sell when inbound leads come in instead of just 1? So that created a sales team that us being an SMB that original sales team had been Jason and myself.
Yeah.
Now we've been able to offload that function, and I, Sam has gotten to a point of familiarity where he's closing a deal a week. So
Incredible.
like not even a question, even on like lower margin software sales, he's still comfortably paying for himself and benefiting the business. And we're keeping all of that tribal knowledge because he's very much a member of the team. So these are places where using VAs and using Outsource Access VAs, I should be clear, has really impacted our bottom line in a positive way. But not just the bottom line, it's impacted our culture in a positive way too. There's a very strong camaraderie between everyone on the engineering team and everyone with us on the sales team. We're able to joke together. Um, we're able to uh, we're able to talk about what's going on in each other's lives. Like we're we're a family. I know that's a worn out phrase in business, but I truly believe that we are.
Yeah, and unfortunately, it's not frequent enough, right? At the end of the day, this is where you spend the vast majority of our lives, right? Is in our careers and our roles and what we're doing, and to enjoy the people you're with, and to feel a sense of connection and camaraderie, and A players like working with other A players, right? And
Mhm.
when you got all players in the room and everybody's rowing in the right direction, and you're doing something positive and exciting and having impact. That's what the exciting part of entrepreneurship and business is, when all those are working. So it's so awesome to hear the connection. I mean, this is, we got a lot of clients who are doing a variety of different things in their businesses, but just to hear this exact journey, I love this episode, because for anybody that's listening this is exactly the path it takes. And, because I always joke around, I'm like, hey, I can tell people how great all this stuff is and they could listen to this episode and so forth, but it's not until they experience it directly, like you guys in the beginning with Edison, right? It's like, okay, we'll dip our toe in the water with this thing. Like, I'm not quite sure, still have these doubts, but I'll go down that path. And then it's the confidence that people get. It's not until you actually go and see that first work product, you have that first call, you see the communication ability, realize that, they all speak amazing English in the Philippines, and communication skills. Then you're like, wow. Then you start, snowballing, like, well, let's try this. Let's have them do that. Right. And then you guys, well, let's go dip our toe here. Can we make that happen? And I'm proud of our team. I mean, as part of our model, we've got, team leaders and operations managers and people that are, in the whole process, kind of supporting that whole journey, because part of it is the infrastructure of hiring the right people to begin with, by being incorporated and bringing in the right talent and providing the benefits that we provide, and the culture. I was actually sharing, like, this is actually our company magazine that we have. One of your staff may be making the front cover. We always have a big competition at the year of who makes the front cover of the magazine every year. But and we're doing it by industry now. This is actually our restaurants and hospitality division. So we're gonna have to launch an IT services division of our magazine, where we just showcase our staff that are in those industries, and it's about just, showing love on them, like, their journey, their path, the impact they're having with clients and the process. But then, having playbooks, right? And this is one thing I would encourage anybody, if you're going down this journey and you're talking to a company in this path, like, make sure that they document, that they do playbooks, right? This is one of the things that we do with every client. I mean, some of them, they're 300 pages long. I'm sure with you guys, right? And this is, one that's kind of a dummy one to share, but it's documenting all the things that we're doing, right? So that it's being documented, and a lot of companies don't have their processes documented. So this is a good byproduct. But also, if we ever need to, replace someone, if something, were to happen, you had to kind of navigate, or hiring future roles, by documenting everything and having the roles defined, our team can proactively take on and recruit the right kind of talent to fill that. And then our performance reviews, and I'm sure you've gotten a chance to be across seeing the business performance reviews, looking at the KPIs, the things that we commit to, and meet with our clients and saying, hey, here's what we said we were going to do for you, and is our team showing up, and the ROI and the impact that we're making. So it's being able to kind of be a partner, right? We call ourselves like a growth partner in the journey, to provide the right team, integrate side by side. And I share this, these are the questions, if you're going down this journey and you want a sustainable, reliable offshore experience, ask these questions. Are they incorporated? Do they do playbooks? Do they do performance reviews? What's their culture like? How do they support their people in their journey? Because that's how you translate, right, into a positive experience in the process.
Yeah, absolutely. Couldn't agree more. And another note on that playbook, we have had issues come up because, I mean, without naming names, we've had a couple of VAs that we've had on the engineering side that didn't work. So we ended up needing to part ways. That's actually how Adeline came in with us, because Adeline was a tactical VA initially, where we had several engineers from OA that were on our team.
Yeah.
But we had reached out to our account manager, and using that playbook, they had a tactical VA where it's like, hey, if there's a family issue or an extenuating circumstance, we can slide somebody in who is read in on the playbook, basically waiting in the wings, so that it doesn't impact productivity. Well, when that happened and we ended up needing to part ways from our other VA, there was somebody already trained. And that's like, as you're scaling, that's the biggest cost. That's the scariest cost. Normally, onboarding a new employee is 1.25 times their annual salary in opportunity cost. So not having to deal with that and being able to get this person ramped up quickly because there was already a playbook written for it, right? That is something that another firm could charge a lot of money to do.
Yeah, it's funny. I keep getting told, like, Brad, we love our staff and so forth, but man, you have no idea. We never had any of our processes fully documented around this. And we've been meaning to write our playbooks and our protocols and SOPs, but like, because we hired you guys as our offshore staffing company, like, you do it as a part of it. And, we've had companies quote us 15, 20 grand to do this. It ought to be a separate offering to, to put out there. But I can't imagine being in the space not doing that, right? There's a lot of companies when you go down this journey, they'll find you somebody and they throw them, like, hey, here's your person. Good luck. They don't manage them. They don't oversee it. They don't keep playbooks. They don't have managers that are overseeing their performance, every single day. Like this is an example, like OrgChart. This is actually another client of ours in the turf care space. Now they got 5 staff with us, but this is their staff that work directly for the client, right? Ivan does all their routing for their technicians in the field. Christine, she sold $500,000 last year. Believe it or not, Dave. Calling and upselling turf care to residents saying, hey, Dave, we're out your yard today. We saw a brown spot. You're gonna need a fungicide treatment, for $80. Would you like your technician to do that on the next visit? $500,000 she sold last year. She sold 100 grand in her first 3 months. And she had never sold turf care in her life. And our team actually took on the burden of actually training her on turf care. This is Bea, our strategic advisor in the Philippines that oversees our team. She created all of the workflow and the call mapping and to do and map the sales process. And then Rhea, she does all their accounting and bookkeeping. 8-year degree in bookkeeping, but they're managed by a team leader, just like on your team. The team leader is managing them day to day. And part of the objective there is to, obviously you're reporting directly and they're reporting with you guys, but then having staff and having somebody, and I would ask, have anybody ask a company, is like, do they have local oversight and management to make sure they're supporting them in their journey? And then an account strategist that's helping strategy around it and supporting them as well. So it's, again, it's about infrastructure, and this isn't about, to tout about our model. It's just, I want people to be successful in this journey. And again, there's a lot of good companies that are out there, but these are the questions to probe that translates into, a sustainable, reliable experience when you go down that, path. So I appreciate, and I appreciate you bringing up, look, it doesn't always go well, right? Look, at the end of the day, despite all the things that we do, and we do IQ testing, emotional intelligence testing, we use predictive index to assess people. We have about 15 assessments to make sure it's the right fit. And as you shared, right, we had one person we placed on engineering that didn't work out, right? But that happens if you're hiring locally in the US as well, right? The key is what we provided that
there's
others.
just a human element to it, where sometimes it works at the outset, and sometimes the needs of the business change, sometimes the needs of the person change.
Absolutely. We are human beings. Life changes. We had an amazing staff. It was unbelievable, textbook perfect. Starting to work with a client, and he had to part at the first 2 weeks because his mom passed away. And in the Philippines, a generational country, right? They're having to take care of their family a lot of times. That's actually why our insurance that we have the best insurance in the Philippines. It covers their parents because a lot of times they're taking care of their parents in their household. But those things kind of can happen in the process. So it's not always perfect, but at the end of the day, if you got good systems and processes, like having a playbook, right, you can then know what they need and have the sustainability for someone to step in and support during that process. So, well, man, this has been an amazing kind of journey to share your whole process. I can't thank you enough for your time, for willing to share your story and the path. It's been a pleasure to serve you guys, and can't wait to. I already was doing some screenshots of me and our interview, and we have a dedicated chat group just with your guys' account. I was sharing and seeing big high fives to the team on what you've been celebrating. So I appreciate the opportunity to support you guys and to share the path. And we'll make sure to put in the show notes for everybody to go visit.
Our website, greenlightcyber.com. We also have greenlightcyber.com/contact. That'll come to me and to our team if anyone has any other questions about it. And then any other questions about the secure AI workspace, if you are an MSP, I sent a URL in the chat, port1.io/Liinal. That's a MSP distribution where we'll provide enablement to you as part of it. That's a division that Jason heads up.
Gotcha. So port1.io/Liinal.
Yeah, in the chat here. Yep.
Okay, got it.
And so if you're a service provider, this will give you a bit more of an overview. And if you want to meet and get a demo, Jason can handle that along with the team over there. But any other questions about AI, about how you can be using it properly, filling out the contact form here, we'll get you over to us and we'll pair you up with the right people.
Absolutely. And they offer kind of a discounted option. Mention the podcast, and they kind of offer an option to kind of get some discounted audit, kind of in your current situation that you're sort of navigating. And they've got a bunch of great resources as well. I mean, actually, you guys referred me to the company that I use for my cybersecurity insurance as well, and you kind of dovetail with them. Great firm with Fullstein that we're working with. So, so we'll put all that in the show notes. Engage, and for us, and anybody that's kind of curious about the whole world of Outsource Access and what we do, you can obviously go to outsourceaccess.com and navigate exactly our whole path. We got tons of videos and content, and you can book a complimentary call, download tons of guides, all the industries that we're in and what we support. And if you're curious about going to this 2-question exercise we talked about, if you'll, we'll have in the show notes, but if anybody here want to just email tools, TOOLS, tools at outsourceaccess.com then put Greenlight in the subject line. We know it came from. Don't have to write any message or anything, but tools at outsourceaccess.com, put Greenlight in the subject line. We will send you a link to this entire 2-question exercise process. It's got an instructional video of how to do it, over 700 tasks you can scroll through all divisions of the business. We've done in 5 million hours of work that can kind of stimulate ideas and things across marketing, operations, customer service, sales. And then a completed example. This is actually a company, we took all confidential information out, but here's an example of a completed one. The name of the individual, is it something they're currently doing? They want to get off their plate. What is it? How many hours per month? And then a blank one that you can kind of complete the exercise internally. And we encourage, whether you go down the whole AI outsourcing path or anything, this is a great exercise to kind of elevate, give your employees voice to share things, because sometimes they know best, being on the front line, working with people in the process. So happy to send this to you along with a bunch of other resources, in the journey. So, well, man, I can't thank you enough for the time. And I heard the door banging behind me there. I got my 6-year-old. I got to go to a soccer practice and go take the kiddos. We're approaching 5 o'clock here at Eastern time. But super generous of you, man. Thanks so much. And everybody go visit Greenlight Cyber and resources that they have. And we look forward to hearing more journeys of people redefining how they scale by learning and embracing the whole world of offshore incredible staff working side by side with SMBs in the U.S.
Yeah, thank you so much, Brad, for having me on. I'm thrilled to be able to tell our story and to be more of an evangelist for you guys. We've already referred you out to another MSP that we partner with, and our fractional VP of sales that we brought in as a consultant. We said, hey, can we get more people like, and they would name one of our people that they had interacted with. Can we get more people like Sam? Can we get more people like Emanuel? And I was like, yes, here, let me connect you with my account team. And I will continue to do that to anyone who will listen.
Oh, I appreciate it, man. And to that point, it's actually a whole division we've ended up launching called Sales Acceleration, because a lot of clients I was talking about with what Christine has done and others. We got a big technology firm that we work with out of Alabama that it's just called Sales Acceleration, right? It's being able to enable salespeople so they can go live and breathe in their highest and best use. We got a fire protection company that, our staff, they just send them a business card and they do the quote, they do the RFP, they do everything and have it to the prospect's inbox, branded with their logo on it within an hour, right? It's speed, time kills deals. So it's a whole area that we support, is just sales acceleration around all those things that you've been sharing. So at the end of the day, every business needs sales, right? That's always top of mind for sure. But well, thanks again, man. Appreciate it so much. And look forward to continue to see your journey and supporting you guys in the path. I appreciate it.
Sounds good. We'll talk soon.
Take care.